Hello, friends. I am Chevy. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? Hope it's fantastic. Everything here is great. And today we're going to talk about the train game. The train game that I've been working on for the last year plus, year and 5 months or something like that. I got a new prototype in the mail yesterday. I told you that I had some playtest sessions fall apart. The playtesters backed out on me, so I did not get to playtest on Tabletop Simulator, so I just decided to order a new board and cards because that's what most of the changes were around. And so I was hoping that this would be the last iteration, that this was the thing, this was it. I was wrong. I've already made changes today that will require some printing, but that's okay. The changes that I made were directly attributed to M's suggestions, things that she thought were clunky during our playtest, whatever, and things that can possibly streamline how the whole thing works, which is good, right? So, truthfully, this board, nothing about this board in particular, any of this information, none of this is changing. This is all staying the same. I am adding another track that cannot fit on this board, but another track will be added, so there'll be 3 tracks. And then I changed the deck, but I foresaw, when I ordered this, I was only using 58 cards or something like that of the sheet. Of the order, so that meant that there was like 14 leftovers that I didn't need. So I printed extras of some of the cards so that I could play with the distribution of this deck. And perfectly, as it works out, I had the extra cards that I needed to change the deck the way that I want to change the deck. So the game is way better. And I said on Twitter last night when we were playing it that I thought it was at about 95%. After the changes that I made this morning, I still think it's at about 95%. And the reason that I say that is I feel like the round structure is going to work out better the way that I've came up with this morning to fix that problem. I think that the special powers. So when you're playing the game, there are contracts, and those have always been a part of the game in some way, shape, or form. Contracts give you special abilities. So normally on a turn, when you build into difficult terrain, it costs you 2 points, and only 1 train can exist on each difficult terrain hex. Well, there's a card that lets you ignore that for a turn. There's cards that let you place extra trains for 1 turn. There's cards that let you ignore penalties if you meet certain criteria. There's cards that pay you extra for doing special things. So there's these contracts, and the way I have them set up, they work really well. I'm really happy with that system. I think that there's a couple of the contracts that are a little bit weak, and I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to fix that. I really only have like 1 extra contract idea. So there's 9 contracts. I have 1 extra idea in the hopper. And that's it. And that's all I've come up with. I've come up with 10 ideas through every iteration of this game. That's not technically true, but it's true for this map. Because I've also developed sideways to this, or adjacent to this, I have developed 3 other maps with different terrain types, and so those maps have specific cards that replace others, so they effectively work better on those maps. They won't do anything on this map because those terrain types don't exist here, but I have a whole expansion line set up for this game. Expansion maps and contracts. So those are easy because there's only 9. I can print those. I'm doing that. I already did that. The deck of cards, the way these work is so much better than the old way. And to tell you, so I hinted that I play tested this game with my friend Scott on Tabletop Simulator, and I hinted that he made a change inadvertently that I was like, oh, I like that. So what I did, the way the game used to work, you had this hand of of cards that showed you how to put trains on the board. So you had a card that would say, put trains 3 in a diagonal, or put trains 2 up, 1 over, something like that. And then you would have to pick one of those to play, and you would have to choose a company's certificate and take that certificate, and that's the company that you're building. And it was really clunky. Those cards, nobody liked them. You had to, like, they couldn't figure out how they worked, and they very, very limiting because of the way that the shapes that they made or whatever. So I threw those away, and I replaced those with a deck of just the shares. And you just take a share, you have a hand of these, and you go, all right, I'm going to play blue trains this turn, and you play blue trains. Well, when I played with Scott, the general way that I thought the game would work was you would play one of these cards, and then you could play up to 4 points worth of trains. So if I played the blue card, I'd play 4 points worth of blue trains. To give you an idea on the board, the green, the light green, those are 1 point. The difficult terrain is 2 points. The water is 2 points, and everything else is 1 point, right? So you could build up to 4 points. But I also had these numbers on the cards because I decided the last couple of turns aren't really interesting. Like, you still draw a card, but they didn't really mean anything. Because at the end of the game, the cards in your hand were just throw them out. They don't do anything. So I added numbers to say, like, you could build a hand, because I decided that at the end of the game, your hand was worth face value. Whatever was on the card was face value. Well, when I was playing with Scott, he put a card down that was like a 3, and he assumed that meant that he could only play 3 trains, 3 points worth of trains. And I went, no, it's always 4. And he goes, oh, I thought it was 4 because I was playing the blue 4. And I was like, no, And then I was like, wait, I really like that. Because, I have designed this board so that every single starting company space has at least one 4 distance connection, and 3 of the 5 have a 3 distance connection. There's math, right? Like there's placement stuff on here. I've put a decent amount of effort into this, and that's why it hasn't changed much, because it works. So this deck, for every company, there are 3s, 4s, and 5s. So you can have 3, 4, or 5 build points, depending on which card you play. Or if you hold them in your hand, they're worth $3, $4, or $5 at the end of the game, and that might sway the end of the game. So I really like this. This is the part that really blew the game open. It made it so much better than the old version. Now there's this tension, there's this back and forth stuff, there's kind of a push-pull, tug-of-war mechanic going on with commodities now. It's really close. So the only thing that I'm working on right now is the way that rounds end. It was always 4 rounds, 6 rounds, 4 rounds. So you got 14 turns, that was it. And in the old way, at the end of each round, you would bid money and buy a contract. And so you would get one of those contracts, and that would be your thing. I liked it, but I also wanted to have majority bonuses. Like in most train games, whoever has the majority of a share certificate or gets something. It's usually money. But in a 2-player game, majority getting extra cash doesn't make any sense. Like, it's like a reward for doing better. Like, it's just extra bonus reward, which feels weird. So I decided in this version that the majority winner of each company gets that company's contract. It works so much better because you'll end up with 2, maybe even 3 contracts, depending on how you play share certificates, if you're mirroring or whatever. And the problem is, if I keep that structure, that 4-6-4 structure, and I just keep going through, like, whoever's first player is always first, I'm first, second, and we just keep going, that means second player always goes last, all 3 rounds. And that's a huge advantage for second player. That's a very huge advantage. Because near the end of the second and the third round, these dividends are going to be paying a lot. Like, M got paid $72 in dividends on the last round, our previous game. My total score was 92. And in the final round, she scored 72 because she was going last and she could set that up. And so I have found a way. It adds another track, like I was saying, but I'm going to have a variable round ending, kind of. So that it's not always guaranteed that whoever starts won't go last. Like, they could go last, depending on how the players play. I think it's going to work out a lot better. So this is not the final version of this. I think it is the final version of this deck, so I don't have to worry about printing this again. It's not the final version of the contracts. That's fine. I've already printed those. They're ready to go. The thing is, when I go to redo this board, it will no longer fit on this 4-fold, but the Game Crafter offers a 6-fold. It's way more space than I need, but it's going to be a better way to organize things and keep things straight, and I'm excited about that. So for now, I'm going to play test on this with my little supplementary board that I printed with these cards. We're going to try that a few times, and if I like that, I think I'm going to freeze development for now, and I will order another prototype. Probably won't pay for for fast shipping this time because, you know, I don't necessarily need it that quickly. I will redo the Tabletop Simulator mod, and then I will be begging people to play the game. So if you're interested in playing the game, I can send you the Tabletop Simulator mod when it's ready. I can send you printer play files when it's ready. And if you're really just a crazy person like I am, and you want to order a printed prototype, I can set that up so you can order a printed prototype. Up to you. But I'm excited. I'm really excited. I really do feel like it's at 95%, and I'm about to say I'm done working on this game for now. I just need a whole bunch of play tests, because that's the only way that I'm going to find out if there's issues with the map, if there's issues with the numbers, you know, the math, the way that the things work out. Is just play test, play test, play test, play test. But I'm super happy with it. Very, very happy with it. That's Rival Rails, my 2-player train game. If you have any questions, comments, ideas, please post them in the description or the comments. Yeah. And thank you for being here, as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, and being amazing friends and wonderful people. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Today's word you should know to sound smart is nimbus. It is a noun meaning a halo of light surrounding the head of a saint or other holy person. Sally is such a good two-shoes, you'd think that she would have a nimbus on top of her head, Nancy said to the girls. Nimbus, N-I-M-B-U-S. Does it specifically around a holy person, like can a light not have a nimbus or a nimbus cloud? Is that not a thing? I don't know what I'm thinking of.